All right, so okay, this way. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to be doing a Friday Reads where I talk about the books or book I've read. Okay, we're already off to a bad start. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about a book that I've been reading for the past couple of days. Back then when I used to have my other booktube channels, I used to like doing book reviews and Friday Reads. And so this is going to be a Friday Reads video where I talk about all the books that I've read or have been reading this week. And that used to be like the thing that I said. But yeah, I kind of have a headache. It's that time of the month, okay? But also, too, I haven't been getting much sleep. And so I'm drained. You know, taking care of 3 kids, solo dolo is draining. So I have to get my sleeping schedule like together. At the same time, I'm just, I want to go to sleep. And this is like the perfect time to go to sleep. I had to make a decision here. Do I go to sleep now, right? Get the rest that my body so desires while my daughter is sleeping? Or B, do I wait till the proper time to go to sleep so that I'm not like fired up like at 10 o'clock when I should be going to sleep, but I'm like up because I'm like high energy and all that stuff like that, and then end up going to sleep at like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning like I've been doing for the past couple of nights. And also too, like, this is an opportunity for me to record a Friday Reads video, something that I've been wanting to do for like the past couple of days. My husband got me this cute microphone arm stand or whatever you would call this thing from Fine. I'm getting off track here. So anyways, I figured why not just use this opportunity while she's sleeping to try and to record a video. This is my third attempt at trying to. I tried to record earlier today, but I spent most of the time fighting for my life against this annoying nuisance of a gnat and my daughter constantly in the background saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," and then not saying anything afterwards. Not that she can say anything. She's only like 1, but she likes to call my name and, either stare at me or run away. And so I spent a good majority of the video having to stop my thought processes to address my daughter and, try and like get back on track with like what it was that I was trying to say, the point that I was trying to make. I feel like I had like higher energy earlier, but like, I don't know, it's like, it's just going to be casual, and it is what it is. I did write notes, so I'll go to the notes again. Even though I kind of feel like I know what I'm going to say because like this is, like I said, going to be my third attempt at trying to record this, but I'm going to have it here on the side so that I can just have it, I guess. I used to do booktube videos back then, but then probably like 2 years ago or something like that. But then I kind of went into a really long, deep reading slump. Like I literally was in the trenches. It was really hard for me to climb back out. Just nothing moved me. Nothing felt like good enough to read from cover to cover, from start to finish. So I was having a difficult time. So I just deleted my channel. And I was like, I'm never going to do this again. I got rid of a lot of books, which I regret. So what got me back into reading is because Liane Moriarty is coming out with a book. And if there's anybody that can get me out of a reading slump, it's Liane Moriarty. I love her books. Every book that I've read from her, I've been able to finish. And anytime I'm in a reading slump, Liane Moriarty knows how to pull me out. She be saving me time and time again. I didn't read all of her books. What Alice Forgot, I didn't read that. 3 Wishes, I didn't read that. But I read a good portion of her books. My favorite from all of them is Big Little Lies. When I read that book, that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, this is my type of style. I love books that are really chatty, very like gossipy-esque, very messy, very like drama packed. But just to have drama in a fictional setting, with fictional characters in a fictional world, it's just, the chef's kiss. I love it because then I get to like talk about it and I don't feel bad because it's not like an actual real human being that I'm talking smack about. Big Little Lies was just the moment that made me realize my truths. And so ever since then, like whenever Liane Moriarty, comes out with a book, I'm always like, okay, I'm ready. What you got? I think the last book she came out with, Nine Perfect Strangers or something like that? Oh my God, I was cracking up. Like the fact that the thing about Liane Moriarty, she kind of like, the stakes are like so high. It starts off normal and then like things just kind of go crazy. And then there's just like this buildup of like, oh my gosh, like there's so much happening. Like, what's going on? And then when you get to the main event, you realize like, oh my gosh, like all of this because she left her phone under the bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. No. That Nine Perfect Strangers was with the resort. That was hilarious. When the instructor, like, a lot of screws was loose. I remember thinking about like the not the patients, but the people that were there. And I was just like, oh my God, y'all better get out of there before she make y'all drink some Kool-Aid. Like, that was like insane. But I think it was The Apples May Fall. That book was just like, that was the whole situation. And it'd be so crazy because it's like, especially when like they have like sections where like people on the outside like start like running their mouth and they get the rumor mill going and like they have their assumptions and it blows out of proportion. Stuff like that I just absolutely love. Even though Big Little Lies was a serious situation, like someone literally died, but the way they kind of like had all like that whole group, like they were all each suspects. I just thought it was like super funny. I did see the first season of the HBO series. I think it was an HBO series, and I didn't see the second. I didn't see the second season with Meryl Streep. I don't know. I guess I just didn't really care too much for it. Yeah, Madly is it Madly Truly? I forgot what the other books. The Husband's Secret. There was that with the letter. Like, yeah, her books are really, really good. I really love them. So the fact that she's coming out with another one, and this one has something to do with like where some of the characters know when they're gonna die. And it's sooner than they think. I'm actually really excited about that. It's giving me like Final Destination vibes. So I'm like, okay, I need to get myself together. Liane's coming. So I need to get my eyes trained for reading words for a long period of time. Currently right now in the middle of reading 28 Summers by Elin Hilderbrand. I didn't read anything yesterday because I was trying to record the Friday reads for this book. And so I was like here for an hour, like just kind of like chit chatting. And then I was trying to like edit it. I realized I didn't want the video out because like I kind of had like a weird Spike Lee angle going on where it was like, you guys were getting a candid shot of like inside my nostrils more than you were getting like of me, like just talking. So it was very distracting. And then earlier today, like when I was recording, I thought you couldn't see the gnat, but you can see the gnat. The gnat was around. The gnat hit me in my face, got me in the eye. Like, where do they come from? Like, the doors be closed. How are they getting in the house? And it's like when they get in the house and then you like have the door available or open for them to get out, they don't know how to get. It's like they don't see the door. They don't see the window. They don't know how to get out. They don't know how to escape, but they know how to get in when the doors are closed and the windows are shut. 28 Summers. So let me get my notes out really quickly and let me get started on what it is that we're going to talk about. Okay. So 28 Summers is about a secret relationship between the main protagonist, Mallory Blessing, and Jake McCloud, because he's dreamy. They get together every Labor Day weekend and they do things that secret relationships do, which is really not that much. I've never been the type to want to be someone's side piece. There has been a time that I liked someone so much so that I was willing to wait, until the end of time for them. But I never wanted to settle to be someone's side piece because it's like how eventful. I mean, of course, like there is the adrenaline, I guess, that comes when you're sneaking around, sneaking about and that there's an excitement there of like, not getting caught or whatever the case may be. But I never saw the appeal. I never saw the excitement for it, but I'm not opposed to it because, like I said, I love drama and fictional books with fictional characters. So I'm not one to be like bent out of shape. It's not real. So I'm not like, turned off about that. It just never really seems that eventful. I haven't read a book, or I haven't come across a book that like explores that in an exciting way, where there's like real stakes and like real consequences, or, real fun, or whatever the case may be. I think I read a book by Jill Mansell. I forgot what it's called, but I think that there was a mom that stepped out on her marriage, and she kind of had like a secret life with someone else, for a really long time. And I think she passed away, and she had created a will, and then all her kids, came together and found out like what was going on. So in the beginning of the story, we start off with Mallory in her 50s, and she's about to die. She has cancer, and they say that the melanoma has metastasized to her brain. We are introduced to her son, Link, who is introduced to a note in her drawer or on her table or whatever. And in that note is a number. And that number belongs to a man named Jake McCloud. He is shocked at first because Jake McCloud is pretty popular. And he's like, what does my mom, an English teacher, know? How does she know someone like a Jake McCloud? We find out in the beginning that he's a married man to a lady named Ursula, who is a politician. So that's where he gets his popularity from, I guess. And he tells Jake that, hey, my mom left me this number. Jake is like, is she all right? And then he's just like, oh, she's about to die and all that stuff like that. So Jake is like, I'm coming. We then go all the way back. We go back to school again with them being in college. They're in their college years. So I think Mallory is a freshman, and Jake is older than her, maybe by a few years or something like that. I don't remember which grade he was in while she was a freshman. But we know that he is Mallory's brother's fraternity brother. And so they cool like that. Whenever Mallory calls Cooper to like just kind of like chit chat or whatever, and Cooper's not there, Jake picks up the phone because he likes to do that, and they start to form some sort of like, not like a friendship or anything, because she don't really call him like that. These are sporadic calls, but whenever Jake does answer, they kind of like have a conversation, mini conversations, and they kind of get to know each other a little bit. Jake has a little crush on Mallory. I think Cooper shows him a picture of her or whatever, and he sees her and he's like, she's mine. I want her. I need her. And Mallory kind of sort of has a little crush on him because of like their little telephone like conversations or whatever the case may be, but she doesn't really know him like that to be like full blown like I liked him or whatever. Like he just seems like, cute and cool and all that stuff like that. Mallory is in New York City, right? After she graduates college, she's in New York City, and she's living a less than eventful life. She's a roommate to her childhood best friend, Elin, who is pretty much just adapting very well to New York City and the city life. She's making connections. She scores a really good job. She's like having a lot of fun, going out and hanging out with friends and stuff like that. She's very annoyed with Mallory being around. I thought that was pretty funny because they've been friends since they were kids. And then as soon as they move in together, it's just like, oh, I can't stand you. Like, you really annoy the heck out of me, right? Something as simple as her just kind of like Mallory sitting in her bed, just kind of like reading a book or whatever. Leyland was just not having it. She was so tired of her. And I just thought it was so funny. I thought it was just hilarious because it's like stuff like that really do be happening. So on a random Sunday, she gets a phone call from Senior, her dad, and he informs her that her aunt Greta passes away. Of course, Mallory is distraught because when Greta had a falling out with her family, with Mallory's family, her sister or brother, I think, and they all pretty much disassociated themselves from her. Mallory kept in touch with her, and even as she got older, she would still visit her aunt and, in Nantucket and all that stuff like that. So she felt, she was pretty connected to her and stayed connected to her. So when she passes away, she gives her $1,000. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, $1,000 and a cottage in Nantucket. Now, one of the things about Elin Hilderbrand, from what I have read before, because I think I read another book called The Perfect Couple, I think when it talks about like someone getting married and then there's like this big investigation and they're trying to figure out who did it or something like that. One thing about Elin, she's going to send her characters to Nantucket. They're going to go there. That's going to be the setting, right? She loves her some Nantucket, and I just think it's so funny. She finally gets her big break because she was just sitting here just trying to figure out what it is she wanted to do. What is she supposed to do with her life? She has her English degree, but like she's not booking any really good jobs. I think she was like a waitress or something like that or whatever. I don't really remember. There is a time she really is a waitress when she moves to Nantucket though. And so she just been like homebody. She's been in the house and she just doesn't really know what to do. The only thing she knows for certain is that she doesn't want to stay with her parents. And so that's why she tolerates being in New York, even though she hates being there. And she's just trying to figure it out. But now she's gotten this blessing bestowed upon her from the Nantucket gods, and she moves there. She has this cute little cottage, and that's where she settles. But not for too long, because her brother Cooper rings her up and be like, "Hey, I'm about to get married. Can I throw a bachelor party at your cottage?" And she's like, "Okay." And so Cooper, Jake McCloud, and Cooper's best friend, Frey, pack their things up, and then they go to Nantucket for Labor Day weekend. Leyland is she also takes it upon herself to say, "Hey, I'm showing up too." And so she's going, but there's a little bit of thing, like, there's some kind of tension, not necessarily like crazy tension, but Leyland and Fraser has a history. And so there's a little bit of anticipation for some potential drama that could take place or ensue, when Leyland comes around. But then everything goes downhill. Everyone leaves except for Jake. And then they kind of start their little relationship. And then the relationship becomes like a tradition where they're not dating, but they do make it an important thing, right? That no matter what happens, no matter the weather, no matter the circumstances, they will meet at the cottage and spend the weekend, the Labor Day weekend, with each other. And that's what that whole thing is. So now let's get into my thoughts on the matter. So when it comes down to my thoughts, okay, I personally do not like Jake nor Mallory. It's not because of them both partaking in having an affair with one another, because at some points throughout the book, because like I'm only on page 115 of this book, so I haven't really gone far, but so far they have been in relationships while they were seeing each other. And so I don't dislike them because of that. I could care less about that. I more so dislike them because they're just not likable characters. Mallory is the type of gal that she's the kind of, I guess, if you were to think of writing a book, right? And you want to write a book and you want your main protagonist to be like, the perfect main protagonist, right? You would say, I love a girl who is beautiful and all the boys love her, and she's fun, she isn't judgmental, she's carefree, she's adventurous, it's kind of like that. And I kind of get that sense when I'm reading about Mallory. It's like where you kind of have these like characters where it's just like, oh my God, like she's so cool. She's not like the rest of the girls because she's quirky type thing. It's for me, her shtick is she's spontaneous and, she's carefree, and she likes adventure. And it's just like, yeah, I'm not impressed still. Her spontaneity is irresponsible. She does things on a whim for the sake of just being spontaneous and adventurous and cool, but she doesn't really think of any consequences, because every decision we do, whether it's good or bad, we are going to reap consequences. And so I just don't, she takes carefree and carelessness too far. And granted, she's in her 20s. We are allotted to having and making a lot of mistakes when we're in our 20s. And so that, that's the time. That's the best time to make mistakes. But it's like, I don't know. She's just not grabbing me. She's not pulling at my heartstrings. I just don't really find her that likable. Jake has this tendency to compare her to Ursula. And because we are getting it from his perspective, it feels like he's trying to sway me into liking her, persuade me into choosing her, persuade me into bigging her up while tearing others down. And I just don't like that. There's another thing that the author likes to do is to make it seem like everybody likes her. So it's like any guy that is in her vicinity, interacts with her, intersects paths with her, they're like falling at the seams, drooling, frothing at the mouth, right? Shaking, catching the Holy Ghost when she's around. And it's so like, it just doesn't make any sense, because when I read from her perspective, when I am sharing her experience with her, I'm just like, this child, this girl, I don't see the appeal. There's a scene, I don't want to give too much away, but there is a scene where she makes a really bad judgment call in the name of just being the cool teacher. And she doesn't realize the optics of this situation, especially when it goes south, because it does, until after it goes south. And then she's like, oh my gosh, like, why did I not think about how this might look? What are you talking about? You had a friend who told you, hey, I see what you're trying to do here. I know you. Don't do it. Just be a teacher. Leave the student alone. Do not get involved. She gets involved anyways. So Mallory will do certain things, say certain things without, as if like she's like the only person in the world. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it has to deal with the fact that she doesn't really have serious consequences. So she's living in New York. The expenses are pretty high. She doesn't have to worry about paying the bills because her parents are forking the bill. And so she can lay about the apartment and, just read books and like work a few days out of the week or whatever the case may be. She has the luxury to do that because her parents are paying for it, right? She doesn't have the same drive that it seems like all her other friends have. Although they all come from the same kind of background, I think, except for Fraser, but I think his grandparents had money. But it's the simple fact that she doesn't seem to have a lot of drive. You know what I'm saying? She's kind of like wherever the wind blows me kind of gal, which is just like, for me, if you're going to be that, then it's hard for me to believe that any guy of different personality types could possibly like her. It's like they can't resist her fruity pheromones. It's like they're all buzzing around her and they can't resist it. Like there's something about her. But when I'm trying to figure out what this something is, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure it out, because there are people that exist that have really good personality. They're very magnetic, like popularity comes easy. Them Sagittarius people, I know some Sagittarius people, and they're a magnet. People are drawn to them, people love them, and they have the personality that, explains that. Or there's people that have the looks that explains that, like the Manon from Cat's Eye. Like, she is beautiful, so her popularity is warranted. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Mallory isn't, but I don't see the personality. I'm not having the experiences that makes me feel like, okay, this is warranted. I can see why everyone is like, every guy that she interacts with likes her. But sometimes authors have a tendency to, when they want to make their main protagonist like likable or whatever, they tell it instead of showing it. And I think that this is the case here. I get Jake liking her. That I was cool with. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm super excited to see how their relationship kind of flourished. But Jake becomes obsessive. He gets jealous when like anybody like interacts with her. Even when she's on the phone, the potential of a guy being on the other end makes him jealous. I'm just like, all right, I'll give it to you. Because that's Jake. That's understandable. She dates this guy named Jid, who is an officer who gets called to investigate her friend who might be dead because her and Jake were making out while he decided to go off into the night, right on the shores of the beach. They find his clothes, on the ground. They can't find him. And so they call the cops. Now they are trying to find her friend, her childhood friend, right? Who has issues, right? She's worried about him. She wants to make sure that he is alive. JD decides to sideline the case, right? To let her know that that his dad would like for them to date. And I'm just like, okay, fine. All right, cool. But he's obsessed with her too. He gets jealous with her too. He sees her with a teen and he's just like, what are you guys doing here all alone? What are we talking about? Are you that jealous that your mind went to that creepy place? But because he's jealous, he's so jealous and he doesn't want near not one man. Teens can get it too. Teens can catch these hands if they are near Mallory with these men. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, what is going on? And then, the kids like her. She's not a regular teacher. She's a cool teacher because they make bracelets for her and they tell her all of the 411, all the juicy details that's going on in school grounds with the students. She wears, blazers with leggings and she sings Ain't Too Proud to Beg for Some Pepperoni. The most coolest I've ever seen her, okay, was when they went to the club or whatever for the bachelor thing, and and the author said that she decided to dance like nobody was watching. Go off, sis. Go off. Okay. So after we get from Mallory's perspective, from which I'm reading it, and I'm like, she seems really childish. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's just like, it just seemed like she was still like in her late teens. It didn't feel like she was like in her 20s or whatever. If anything, she probably was in her early 20s or whatever. I don't know. Even though she has her own cottage and she was like, okay, I'm thinking about like building an outdoor shower, whatever the case may be. She didn't feel mature enough to me, right? It just seemed like she was kind of playing house. And for where I come from, playing house is just when, you got kids who think they grown, right? Teens who think they're grown and they are shacking up with their partners or whatever the case may be as if they were like a married couple, right? They say when their parents go away or they are at work, they sneak their partner in and they do what they doing and, he or she is cooking for them and, they watch a TV. They playing house, okay? It ain't they real house. They pretending, right? They're playing house. And so it just kind of feels like that. It doesn't really feel like things have actually really soaked in for Mallory with owning a cottage, right? On the beach, having $100,000, like in the bank. Like, it just really doesn't feel real. And like how she kind of like gets herself into situations and it's like poof, it goes away, with the situation with the student and how the rumor gets going. There's no severe consequences. The rumors don't necessarily really affect her, and it may have something to do with the writing, right? It kind of glosses over it, but also too with the fact that she gets to escape at her cottage. So she doesn't have to really see the people in town unless she has to go out there and like get food or whatever the case may be. So it just doesn't feel like she is really living life right now. It doesn't feel like she's in the real world. It feels like a big old fantasy. So to me, she just feels really childish, but I thought it was really odd because like when we switch to Jake's perspective, Mallory seems more mature than Jake. Like, it feels like he becomes younger and then she becomes like this older woman. There's a moment where we switch from Mallory's perspective and then we go to Jake's, and then they go kayaking because she wants to show him around the island or whatever. And she goes, you continue paddling because I want to lay back and look or feel like Cleopatra or something like that. And when she said that, I was like, oh, girl, who is this person? Where did she come from? It just seemed like she kind of grew up with Jake's perspective. And then Jake became like really childish. And that was so odd to me because like when we're reading from Mallory's perspective, you get a sense that she's really shy. Not really shy, but she has this shyness about her and she really cares about how Jake feels, or like, what does he mean when he say that? Or if I say this, or, oh my gosh, like, you know, my nail polish just chipped and, you know, like I should have wore something better or whatever the case may be to impress him and stuff like that. But then when we go from Jake's perspective, she's more of a, let me draw the boat type of person. Like, I'm a handle, like I'm in control of the relationship. And he's just like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, ma'am. And stuff like that, which is just like, it was just really odd. You know what I'm saying? It was really odd to kind of see that. It could be because of the writing. I feel oftentimes when we are in the person's perspective looking at the love interest gets the spotlight, gets the attention, and then the person that we are sharing the perspective with, they become the wallflower. You know what I'm saying? They start to become one-dimensional, right? And so it's to me, it just kind of gets confusing, you know, because it's like there are times where Mallory feels like she's full of life, and then there's other times where she feels really, really flat, you know, to the point where it's hard for me to believe that she is she can exist. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where I feel a little bit conflicted, because it's just like, I don't necessarily like her because I just don't believe her. I don't believe in her either. And so that's the problem. But then I was also talking about how Jake has a tendency to compare her to Ursula. Now, the issue is, granted, Ursula is an unlikable character. She is the type of person that if, you know, they're getting out of bed, she's making her side of the bed, but she's also telling Jake to make his side of the bed and make sure he aligns. He folds the blanket with the crease and making sure the crease stays sharp. Make sure the ends of the sheets align with the end of the bed. She also has told Jake before that she loves her work, right, more than she loves Jake. But she loves work more than she loves herself. She loves work more than she loves her family. So that's understandable. Now, here's the thing. I would side with Jake if he is saying all these things that makes Ursula look like the Wicked Witch herself. But he chooses Ursula. He marries Ursula. He spends his a good portion, 99.9% of the year with Ursula, and he spends one weekend, right, of the year with Mallory. So it's like, how am I supposed to pick a side? How am I supposed to pick a side? If you want to have this whole competition between Mallory and freaking Ursula, and you want me to choose Mallory, how, when you are not choosing Mallory? It's not like y'all are married and then you're like, okay, I am bounded to this woman, you know, via marriage. So it's hard for me to like leave her because maybe she's sick, or maybe, you know, I don't believe in divorces or whatever the case may be, but I've fallen in love with Mallory. And so it's hard for me to leave her and then go be with Mallory. That is understandable. But when you first link up with Mallory, you are not in a relationship with Ursula. And even when you get in a relationship with Ursula, you are not married to Ursula. So I don't understand. You choose to make a full-blown commitment with Ursula. So how can you then sit here and make me hate Ursula? I don't hate her. In fact, I think she has the most sense out of all of them. And that's saying something, because Ursula is she's not supposed to be a likable character. She's very judgmental. She's the type of person that eats white rice when you order Chinese food. So she's supposed to be the type of person that is not likable. But I like her more as a character development than freaking any of them in the book. It's Leyland as well. She's not a likable character. She does Frasier dirty. She could care less about how she treats people. She could care less about how she treats Mallory, but she seems like a likable character because she feels more realistic than the rest of the people in the book. I just personally, I don't like when characters do that in romances, where they feel the need to compare their exes to the characters that they are trying to pursue, right? As if they're trying to justify why they should choose, or why the main love interest should be chosen over the other, which is like, you don't have to do that. We can talk about Mallory. We can talk about your feelings about Mallory without stepping on Ursula's neck. And it seems like Jake can't seem to not do that. You know, it's just like, oh, Ursula doesn't like when I compliment her beauty. Okay, fine. So she rather you compliment her based off of her intellect. What's wrong with that? Like, even Mallory say, are you okay? Like, it's like, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, is there some sort of Clockwork Orange where, like, Ursula has you in a dungeon somewhere and she's, like, mind controlling you, saying, like, never tell a woman that she's beautiful because it's indignant or whatever the case may be? You're just like, come on, just cut it out. Cut it out. Stop it. You know? I don't dislike Ursula yet. I still don't dislike her. Then it was like, oh, you know, she doesn't like, they were eating, Chinese food, and they had ordered a bunch of food. They could have just left it at that. Enjoy the moment. Be in a present moment. You're with Mallory. You love her so much. So be with her. He brings up Ursula. Ursula only likes to eat the white rice, but Mallory likes to order all this food, and it's just so much. We can't eat it all, but we're here. We're enjoying it because Ursula doesn't like cool things like that, but Mallory does because she's so free-spirited. What are we talking about? Who cares? You're gonna go home to her. So what are we talking about? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, Jake, please shut up. And then it's like, oh, you know, we don't do the whole like fortune telling cooking thing because it's not real. It's the way for the corporate people to pose as Confucius or whatever. But it's like, okay, whatever. Read the freaking strip. What'd it say? Ursula, and then Mallory goes, you know, let's do it. And then let's say between the sheets after it, because that's the little game that they do. And it's just like, oh my gosh, she's just so much better than Ursula because like she even has a game to go with it. It's just like, oh my gosh, please stop. Please stop. That's such a major turnoff for me. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's super annoying, and I don't understand why they do it. Like, I could understand if like the previous relationship, like the partner did damage to that person. And so the person is like legit scared to accept another relationship, to try something new and to trust again and to love again. And I can understand from that perspective. But Ursula and Jake are both mean to each other. They're both mean to each other. Like, he be calling her, don't be a bee, all types of stuff. So he be squaring up with Ursula. So I just don't understand where the Ursula hate is coming from. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, you gonna marry Ursula. So, and then it's like you giving Ursula the trophy, the big trophy. The first place trophy, and then you giving Mallory a participation award. Like, it's like, what are we talking about? And that's the part where I'm just like, I don't like Jake. I think he's a goofy because it's just like, what are we doing? Your actions, your words lack conviction, because it's like, and so that really, that's annoying, but I'm here for it because I want to see what happens. To me, like, Jake is just like an empty Tiffany box. So I'm just like, whatever. Like, oh my God, there was a part where I should have known, because when they first meet during their first Labor Day weekend, and she introduced herself, she goes, hi, I'm Mal. He goes, Mal means bad in French. Like, okay. But then he kind of quickly cleaned it up when he was telling Frasier, because like I think Frasier like complimented her or said something to her. He's like, she's mine. I thought that was cute. Anyways, what else was there? Okay, so yes. So what is in that Nantucket water? Because I'm trying to figure out what is wrong with these guys. Or maybe it's, I don't know. is that something that Mallory attracts in her life? I don't freaking know. But like all the guys, when I tell you they are bat-ish crazy about her, it's insane. It really doesn't make any sense. So we talked about Jid, right? We talked about Jake and how when she links up with them, they become like extremely like possessive and they get really jealous. But if it's just those two, that's understandable because they have relationships with her. But it's like everybody that she deals with, right? They love her. Like they like her. Like she is like the apple of their eye. At the reception, there's a guy named Brian and they are dancing or whatever the case may be. Jake comes in. He's like, hey, can I cut in? And he's like, what? Like this guy was about to square up with Jake because like, he was like, that's my Mallory. And Jake's like, this is my Mallory. Although Ursula is like in the back, although she's she's doing a business phone call, but she sees him dancing with her or whatever. But she's in the same building and they about to square off over this girl. And I'm just like, this can't be real. Elin can't be serious. Like, this is crazy. Then her boss, the principal of the school. So he hires her as a substitute teacher at first. And then after the English teacher retires, she gets the job as the English teacher. So she hasn't been there for that long, but it doesn't stop the principal for liking her. Like he favorites her. He really likes her. So much so that when Jake is seen with Mallory at the video store looking for Same Time Next Year, I think that's the movie or whatever, he takes it upon himself, mind you, he's older, right? Probably older by a lot, like probably like a father figure to Mallory. He's actually at the store looking for a movie that his wife had told him to get, but he's there. And he takes it upon himself to go sneak on over to Jake and let Jake know, hey, you're with her. You're lucky to have her. And I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe this could be like a potential like father figure type thing. But it wasn't on some like, it didn't strike me as that way. I don't know. Like the fact that Dr. Mayer, her boss, would really go out his way to, and it's not like he said it in front of Mallory, like, hey, like she's a good teacher. She's one of the best, take good care of her, right? It's on some like, you're lucky to have her in secret. Like imagine like being in a corner store, like looking for like a freaking romance book. And then like her boss like comes and he's like whispering to you, like, you're lucky to have her. What do you mean, sir? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I am enjoying this book, contrary to the way that I'm just kind of like acting. I'm enjoying the book. Like, it's really, really good. I'm really interested to see what happens. Like, are they going to get caught? We know that Ursula and Jake gets married, right? How does that happen? Does Ursula kind of like manipulate him into like getting married because she's like a politician now? Like, if she's like in a political race or whatever, she's like, oh, we have to get married, because it looks good for my image. So that's that's why they end up getting married. There seems to be a time that they don't even Mallory and Jake don't spend time together for a while because Link is like, I don't know if he's like a young adult or whatever, but he's old enough to pick up the phone and have an in conversation about, what's going on with his mom, with Jake. So I feel like there is a time span where Mallory and Jake don't even speak to each other. So I wonder what that is about. Is Link Jake's child? There could be a way where Elin kind of sets it up to make us think that Link is the father. And maybe, that Jake is the father of Link. But it might end up not being the case. Link might end up being someone else's child. I don't know. I'm interested to see if she grows up. I mean, obviously she does. She turns 50, but I'm talking about mentally. And it seems like she holds her job as a teacher until she gets older. So that's cool. And I'm really interested to see what happens. I'm really interested to see what happens. Does Ursula find out about the relationship? And if she does, what does she say? What does she do? How are they going to maintain this relationship of like just meeting each other like one weekend out of the year? How does that go? What does Kitty think about this? Her mom, who's very judgmental too. It's like everybody is judgmental except for Mallory. You want to know why? Because she's not like the other girls. I'm going to end this here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys were able to enjoy this little chit chat. I'm just going to keep it casual like this. I've learned my lesson. Like whenever, like it could be this dark. I don't even care. Like I was going to have a really cute setup or whatever, but it is what it is. Like I'm not like the rest of them. I'm just casual. I'm just laid back. I don't care. I'm carefree. So anyways, bye. Oh, wait, before you guys go, did you guys read this book? What do you guys think of it? Don't spoil it. But I do want to talk about it. That would be cool. What are your thoughts? Am I wrong? I feel like I'm digging too much into it. It could also be because it's that time of the month. So I got a little attitude-y. And it could also be the fact that it's hard for me to get into romance right now because I've just had it up to here with romances. So I could be highly judgmental. But it's not to the point where I don't like the book. I just don't like the characters. I just don't like how they move in. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys were able to enjoy yourselves. And until next time.